Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My husband is one of two sons. My brother-in-law, husband's brother, has a girlfriend who's pregnant with their first child, who already has a 14-year-old daughter from a previous marriage. Brother-in-law and his girlfriend have been going out for a year and 3 months, but are apparently head over heels and have booked a wedding for 2017. My whole family includes the 14-year-old daughter, Brooke, in everything, which we absolutely should. I've been in the same situation as her, and I know sometimes when your parent has a whole new family through their partner, it's nice to be treated like one of the family too. Brooke stays with her dad half the week, so she's very active in her dad's family, her mom's family, and now our family. Brooke has no intentions of ever calling my brother-in-law her dad, or my mother-in-law her grandma. She's clear that she's already got her family, which, again, is quite right. My brother-in-law's girlfriend is very, very, very adamant, almost too adamant, that Brooke shall be treated by us exactly the same as the new baby when it comes along. For example, I've prepared a hamper for the new baby coming with diapers, clothes, wipes, etc. When I told brother-in-law's girlfriend what I was preparing, she thanked me, but said I should get her daughter a hamper or a big gift too, so she doesn't feel left out, which I can understand to a degree. However, my brother-in-law's girlfriend pulled a stinker, and my husband and I don't know how to react. My mother-in-law wrote her will yesterday, and sister-in-law asked her to consider changing the terms that if mother-in-law dies, her assets will be split 4 ways, i.e., 1 part for my husband, my brother-in-law, the new baby, and Brooke, so that Brooke feels included. My mother-in-law isn't the smartest crayon in the box, and did this. She says that Brooke needs to feel included too, as she's part of the family. My mother-in-law's money is hers to spend, and if she decided to leave all her money to a cat charity, I would tell her that's her decision. But if she's going to leave it to family, surely her son shouldn't be getting the same amount of money as a non-related child, who's already got 2 families to seek inheritance from. My husband doesn't know how to approach his mother about this without seeming insensitive. Any help would be appreciated, or tell us we're being selfish. Okay, the hamper thing I don't get. It's not a gift for the child. It's a gift for the mother so that you make this difficult time of having a newborn a bit easier on her. I really don't see how Brooke suddenly deserves gifts or whatever. Is Brooke going to use the diapers and wipes? An equivalent gift to me would be if you got Brooke a big box of tampons and pads, and that just seems inappropriate. As for the money thing, yeah, your husband can talk to her, not in a demanding way, but just to ask her to consider that with the new child and Brooke, his brother is essentially getting 3/4 of the inheritance, and he would like her to consider splitting it evenly between the brothers. But if she refuses, he should immediately drop it. This is just a favor he would be asking of her. If she wants to give 3/4 to his brother's family, that's her decision to do. I might get a couple downvotes here, but typically grandchildren do not inherit assets ahead of or alongside their parents. Someone feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. So I find it odd that your mother-in-law specifically included grandchildren in her will for distribution of assets. Why don't you suggest that your mother-in-law simply leave 50% to each of her sons? That way, neither grandchild is in the will, and no one feels left out. I don't think it's insensitive to point out that this is a more traditional and equitable distribution of your mother-in-law's assets. Also, if she does change her will, make sure an attorney helps her prepare it. It sort of sounds like your mother-in-law wrote this will on her own. If so, it may not be enforceable. Might need to visit a lawyer in any event. I don't know. Don't take anything I say as truth. Take your mother-in-law to a lawyer. If your husband feels cheated by this new will, he should tell his mother and see if they can figure something out. This does not really concern you. You can support your husband, but if you get involved, this looks like the daughter-in-law wants more inheritance. Me and my sister used to be the best of friends before my husband entered our lives. She was supposed to marry him first, but decided against it as she didn't have any feelings for him and pushed me towards him. We eventually fell in love with each other, told our families, and our marriage got fixed. But my sister's behavior started to change during our wedding period. She started to behave weird towards me and sounded envious. I asked her what was wrong, whether she was happy with my marriage or not. She assured me everything was fine, and she was happy for us. Just right before the wedding ceremony, she comes up to me and begs me not to marry him, as she has developed feelings for him. I thought she was out of her mind and completely ignored her. She created a scene in front of people saying how I stole her man, and my grandmother supported her in all this. At this point, I was in tears and just couldn't take her crap anymore, so I told my parents to get her out of there. We got married and have been married for 1 year, but my sister has never let us live in peace for one day. She taunts me and continues to visit my husband at his office hours and creates a scene there. Because of her antics, my marriage has started to fall apart, and my husband just recently told me he would prefer to go back to the day when neither of us was in his life, and that we both ruined his life, took all the peace and balance from it. I was heartbroken after hearing that, and I have no idea what to do with her. Sounds like it's time for a restraining order. If she keeps harassing him at work, possibly endangering his employment, that's the way to go. We've done that before. She stopped for a while, somehow convinced my husband she's over him, and he was foolish enough to ask the court to lift the restraining order. It didn't take her more than a week to start harassing him again, which he sort of brought on himself. We fought over it, and I moved out for 2 to 3 weeks until he apologized and his family requested me to move back in. I'm not sure at this point what I'm supposed to do, because my husband thinks a restraining order is too serious for someone so young, which makes absolutely zero sense. He can't see his wife is suffering because of this, and our marriage too. Blames both of you for her behavior? I don't think that's how that's supposed to work. She's entirely the problem in your version of events. If they're more or less accurate, the entire problem can be resolved by reporting her to the police and following up on violations of a protected restraining order. Holy duck crap! I thought this sort of thing only happened on TV. I'd go no contact with her. She has no boundary issues, and seems to be quite the narc if she had the audacity to declare you called the wedding off just because she had developed feelings. To be honest, I thought you were misguided getting with the man your sister was once so deeply with. Document everything, every little thing. Proof if you have it, including messages and photos. Take to the police and get an order. Edit. Actually, after considering your husband's opinion, no. What exactly did he expect when he was going to marry one sister but ended up with the other? Are you happy with him? Update. I tried convincing myself this wasn't the case, but today when I spoke to my sister, she told me she's pregnant with his child. With all the crap she has been pulling off lately, I didn't believe her and just left from there. I pondered over it for a while after returning home and came to the decision to confront him. I got straight to the point and asked him. He simply denied it, which made me suspicious because when it comes to small things, he gets incredibly hyper and accuses me of mistrust. But this time, he had nothing to say except for a weak no and switched the topic. I called my sister and asked her for proof. She told me to ask my friends, how they all know about the affair. Of course, I called up my best friend. She confirmed everything about the affair, how he was with my sister when he was saying he's going to some business trip. I called up at his work to ask them about his so-called business trips, and they denied sending him anywhere. Turns out, he isn't even in the position to attend any meetings in his workplace, far less represent the company. The affair seems to be the reason for my sister's harassment, and I was made a fool in all of this. I should have seen it coming, but I ignored all the red flags because I put trust in a man who was sleeping with my sister behind my back. I don't want to know whether the baby is his or not. Finding out about the affair is enough for me to bail on his sorry butt. All this time, I was the one who was having sleepless nights, worrying about our future. I'm glad I found out about the affair and didn't rush to have kids with him. Better late than never. Right now, I'm just packing my stuff and leaving. While back, he sent me a sorry text and thought that would fix everything. I will talk to a lawyer about the divorce as soon as I can, and I truly hope and pray if that baby is his, at least he accepts it. A bit of background for my upbringing and family life. I grew up in pretty much the same house up until I moved off to college. My parents stayed together mostly for me and slept in separate bedrooms. My mother had an affair soon after she married my father, but he stuck around to care for me. He also has a daughter from a previous marriage to which he wasn't close with within her youth, but has been making up for it within her adult life. I just want to say right off the bat, I love my father, and I know what he did was greasy. But it would be fair to say he has a very impulsive attitude, and isn't very good with budgeting money. So, there have been previous things he has done, but I won't get into that today. But this tops the cake, and I really don't know how to handle it. Our relationship is fine, and we talk once a week, but I'm really angry and don't know how to handle the issue anymore. So, as the title stated, my mother passed away when I was 20. This was a very hard time on me, obviously. I loved my mother very much, and we were very close. Not a day goes by where I don't think of her. My father, soon after she passed, started dating, which I kind of understood, considering I saw and lived inside their loveless marriage, but sold all of her things 2 weeks after she passed away, calling it, and I quote, "the purge." Within 2 months, he was dating multiple women off of online dating, with a boyish gleam comparable to a young male in high school. He then settled on a lovely woman, whom he is still with today. Okay, now the bike business. When she passed away, my father suggested buying a motorcycle to replace my 1987 Honda Nighthawk. We spoke of going on road trips to grieve our losses and take time away to bond and heal. My mother left money behind, which is how he afforded the new bike. We went into the Harley showroom, and there she sat, my 2007 887 Sportster. We bought the bike. I had it custom painted. I loved it and road tripped the crap out of it. I don't feel like my dad bought me the bike because he's always been bad with money, and he didn't have the money until my mom passed away. I feel like my mom bought me the bike, and this was the last thing I owned, besides a ring and pictures that I had left of hers. My mom passed away while I was in college. I lived in a rental house while I went to school for the 2 years. Shortly after her passing, my father told me him and his new girlfriend were moving, so when I was finished with school, I had to find another place to live. At the time, I had a girlfriend, so we went and lived with her parents while I worked security and waited for an opening within my current field. 5 years ago, I moved away from my hometown, and my girlfriend dumped me shortly after my departure due to her not being able to commit to a long-distance relationship. So I was alone, but had, and have, my dream job, and ended up meeting the love of my life and mother of my child, so I am 100% happy. I also had my bike, and couldn't wait for the summertime to come so I could go riding with my girl on the back. We had been riding around my hometown, but never up here where we live now. 3 years ago, I had to go away for 3 months for a work-related training course, and I decided to take my wife with me. This is when it all went down. He asked to borrow my motorcycle, since he was getting old and couldn't hold up his big bike anymore. So he drove up the 5 hours with a trailer he borrowed from a friend, and we loaded the bike up, and he asked for the ownership and insurance, just in case. The bike was always in his name, but I paid the insurance. And prior, every time I asked to transfer the bike to me, but he always shrugged it off and had some reason why it couldn't be done. Seemed harmless at the time. After all, I had owned it for several years. So he drove off, and we left to go to my work course in another province. 4 weeks into my trip, I got a text that said, "Hey buddy, check out the new wheels." And it was a giant new bike that was even bigger than the one he had prior, which confused me because that was the whole reason he borrowed mine. So I asked him what happened, and he nonchalantly said he sold my bike so he could upgrade his, and gloated about all the new features he liked, and said I could ride it whenever I wanted. I won't lie, I cried with rage and sadness. My wife is furious with him and has never forgave him, but is still civil when he comes around. So over the few years that have passed, he's gone from saying he was sorry to "I can have his bike since he ducked up," to "I can have his bike, but he wants to get a few more seasons out of it," to "I can have his bike and take what he traded mine in for, instead of the actual value of the bike as a whole, and give him the rest of the money," to lastly, telling me, "Well, when I kick the bucket, it's yours anyway." So there seems to be no real commitment or resolve. I have to see him tomorrow for Easter dinner, to which my wife is utterly frazzled about, because they have bumped heads within the past over his crude mouth and crappy objectifying jokes, or just flat-out rudeness, and obviously because she sees how he has hurt me. And after all of this, I still love him and feel bad for him and want him to enjoy his last years. But my wife thinks I need to put my foot down and just take the bike and don't give him a penny. He made his bed, and he should have thought about his decisions prior. It sounds like he doesn't take responsibility for his behavior and continues to pull jerk moves by saying something that sounds good, like a fake apology or offering a false promise to you to suggest you're going to be repaid. But when the issue arises, he changes his tune. He sounds selfish for many reasons outside of the bike. It looks like he doesn't feel bad at all or care about making it up to you. All he offers you is false hope on a very long stick he taunts you with. Sorry for your losses. I would have a hard time looking past this. I mean, unless he somehow manages to track down and return your original bike, I would probably never bother to even speak to him again. Even then, he's disgusting to your wife. I certainly can't imagine why you're going to Easter dinner. Can't figure out why you think it's okay to subject your wife to this jerk. Your dad is a complete and utter a-hole, and you enable his a-hole behavior. Don't just take the bike. The title is in his name. An a-hole like this will call the cops. You will get in a lot of crap. Put the bike situation down as learning experience. You learned your father is an a-hole and has no respect for you. Stand by your wife. Don't tolerate his disrespect towards her. Don't go to the dinner with him. Cut contact for the time being and spend the day with your wife. We married when I was 23 years old. He was 35, and he had a 7-year-old girl from a previous marriage that ended terribly. He has partial custody on weekends and special holidays. We had dated for 3 years prior to this. My parents were not around. Long story. But my grandmother had given me her blessing. Age gap aside, he has been a great boyfriend and a great husband. My issue is that he seems to be picking and choosing which of his daughters to spoil. Stepdaughter has been receiving all sorts of treats. No dime is spared on her. She is showered with all the latest Apple gadgets, and has been since she was young. She had the first generation of Apple tablets and iPods when they first came out. When I confronted him saying that our daughter might be able to get a used iPod or an older gen, he says he doesn't want her to be too dependent on technology at a young age. Yet he has no problem shelling out to get my stepdaughter the latest iPhone. I know from when we were dating that he would take our stepdaughter out to amusement parks and museums and fairs, and things that children usually enjoy. We often had to reschedule our dates to plan around her many outings, and I didn't mind it one bit at the time. But now that our daughter is at an age when she too would like to go to amusement parks, he simply tells her when you're old enough, or he will ask me to take her instead. He has never offered to take her to the parks or anything of that sort. I remember he even bought stepdaughter front row concert tickets to a One Direction concert that recently happened and went along with her, but he didn't think to ask our daughter if she would like to go. I never told her that Daddy took older sis to One Direction and not her. I fear it'll just break her heart. When I confronted him about his actions, he said that he didn't want to spoil our daughter. But I call bull. What does he think he is doing for our stepdaughter then? He thinks nothing of dropping hundreds of dollars on her shopping and spending, but makes excuses as to why he cannot spend similar kinds of money or even attention on our own daughter. It's really starting to piss me off, and I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. I love my stepdaughter, but seeing our own daughter be so blatantly cast aside is making me resentful towards my husband and, to an extent, my stepdaughter. She has never suggested that her younger sister be thought of, or be taken along with her and her dad as well when they go out. I married and had a child by this man because I love and trust him, but his recent actions, compared to how he used to lavish money and attention on my stepdaughter, concerns me. Is there something I'm missing here? I think the reason for this preferential treatment is because, as others have pointed out, he has limited access to his older daughter, and when he does have access, he needs to make every single moment count. I'd also like to point out that getting an iPad for a 2010 release on iPad 1-year-old child is quite reasonable, while buying an iPad for a 7-year-old does seem a bit unnecessary, unless an iPad is gathering dust. And yes, a 17-year-old girl getting the latest iPhone over her 7-year-old sister is also perfectly reasonable. About the concert, I have never been to one, but would this be an appropriate place for a 7-year-old? Probably not. If there is favoritism, it is only because she is older and because he constantly needs to win her over. Would it be possible that you take the initiative and arrange for the 3 or 4 of you to go to fun events? Apple gadgets and One Direction concerts aren't appropriate for 7-year-olds. I think your husband has a case of what's colloquially known as Disney Dad syndrome. I'd guess 17-year-old doesn't live with you and visits. He's vying for her affection at the expense of your daughter. You guys need a serious sit-down.